have our first guest, and please welcome him, Dr. Kaplan. Welcome to the show. You're from Laguna Hills, is this correct?
Well, I currently reside in Laguna Hills. I'm originally from Great Neck, Long Island. I come from a family steeped in medical tradition. My father was head of neurosurgery at Sloan Kettering, a very prominent New York hospital. My mother, an epidemiologist and infectious disease specialist with the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where I did my undergraduate work at Emory University, my graduate and postgraduate studies, respectively, at Johns Hopkins and Harvard Universities, where I've earned degrees in internal medicine, biogenetic engineering, and clinical psychology, with a major concentration in religious science. My impetus, my steadfast doctrine, my abiding incontrovertible conviction, the interdependence of physiological, psychological, and spiritual bases of well-being.
You mentioned Long Island. You were in New York. What brought you out to California?
Well, at the time of inquiry as to my availability, I was at Princeton University Medical Center performing a series of nerve conduction studies, quantitatively analyzing the respective roles of the companion neurotransmitters acetylcholine and cholinesterase in the electrochemical phenomenon at the myoneural junction. At that time, I received a number of telephone calls from my esteemed colleagues at the UCLA Medical Center petitioning me to oversee an advisory board and concomitantly spearhead the research and development of a new line of precision obstetric calipers. And although my availability at the time, or a lack thereof, proved preclusive toward that endeavor, serendipitously, the International Nuclear Radiological Convention I was slated to attend was postponed, paving the way for my sojourn to Southern California, where I'm currently on staff with a number of clinics and healthcare facilities throughout the Tri-County area.
And tonight you're going to be discussing erectile dysfunction with us.
Yes, our recent demographic studies have identified this particular region of South Orange County, encompassing a number of the local communities, as being in the top 2 percentile of per capita consumers of Viagra in the nation, intimating a likely prevalence of erectile dysfunction in the region. And having learned of your show's extensive following in the area, we felt this a propitious forum in which to present our data and address this potentially emasculating issue head-on.
As an overview, what can you tell us about erectile dysfunction?
Well, sexual impotence, or erectile dysfunction, as andrologists prefer to call it, is a very common disorder. A predominant etiology, arteriogenic in nature, perhaps an atherosclerotic blockage or hardening of the penile arteries, which, if so indicated by a falloarteriogram, could warrant percutaneous transluminal angioplasty as the prescribed mode of penile revascularization. Venogenic causes very common, perhaps a venous leak of the veins draining the blood from the penis, thwarting the veno-occlusive mechanism of penile blood entrapment. Neurogenic causes, or perhaps a faulty synaptic relay somewhere along the penile neural pathway, or psychogenic factors such as general anxiety, performance anxiety, and castration anxiety. And certainly not to be discounted, a multifactorial genesis of the pathology incorporating one and or more of the aforestated precipitants.
Is it possible for you to give us a definition of erectile dysfunction in one short sentence?
Well, erectile dysfunction, in short, is the inability to achieve or sustain an erection of sufficient duration to provide for fulfilling sexual intercourse.
Do you have a ballpark figure as to how long?
2.63 minutes.
2.63 minutes?
That's correct.
And how did you arrive at that?
That's my personal assessment. By the way, that figure does come with an inherent margin error of plus or minus 0.06 minutes, but that determination of mine has indeed been corroborated by a wealth of empirical data compiled from a multiplicity of controlled clinical studies utilizing representative samplings of diverse gene pools and ethnicities throughout the international community.
What did you say you had degrees in?
Internal medicine with a number of affiliated specialties, biogenetic engineering, clinical psychology, and in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks I'll be concluding my doctoral thesis in religious science.
Dr. Seymour Kaplan here with us, offering his words of wisdom about erectile dysfunction. If we have a caller out there, we have a caller from Irvine. Let me see here. Hello, are we there?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing? You're calling from Irvine, right?
Right.
How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great.
And do you have any questions for Dr. Seymour Kaplan?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Viagra, but I have a heart condition and I've heard maybe I shouldn't be taking it. What do you think?
Well, in certain underlying conditions, the use of sildenafil citrate or Viagra would be contraindicated, particularly those conditions warranting the ingestion of nitrates, such as angina. Now, I can apprise you of a number of viable alternative treatment options at your disposal, the most common of which are vacuum constriction devices, or VCDs, wherein a hollow plastic cylinder is placed over the penis. A vacuum pump is utilized to extract air out of the chamber, creating a vacuum, thereby inducing an erection. An elastic constriction band is then transferred from the hollow end of the cylinder to the base of the penis to sustain the erection. And finally, the hollow plastic cylinder is removed from the penis proper in preparation for the sexual activity. Now, I might add that the use of vacuum constriction devices are perhaps best served for use with long-standing sexual partners as opposed to a first-time sexual encounter, as be it the breach of spontaneity posed by this apparatus or the mere introduction of a cylindrical polymer into the sexual equation. Clinical studies have clearly indicated that the utilization of a vacuum hand pump to achieve an erection does not directly lead to excitation in females. Alternatively, the multi-component inflatable hydraulic devices have proven most successful in retrospective studies.
This all seems so inconvenient. I don't want to be creating vacuums or using all these devices. Isn't there another solution?
Well, from strictly a sociological vantage point, the acquisition of a more attractive sexual partner certainly a possibility, which we generally recommend against. We feel far more conservative measures may be undertaken, such as having your current sexual partner undergo various and sundry cosmetic surgeries to alleviate the problem. Facelift for fallen countenance, buttocks tuck for a gravity-burdened gluteus maximus, and a host of other elective cosmetic surgical procedures.
Okay, wait a minute. Are you saying that a woman surgically alter herself to? Is that, from what I caught, you're saying that a woman should alter herself to fix her partner's sexual erectile dysfunction?
Well, let's take a look at the scientific data if we could. We've charted erectile function in men whose partners have undergone breast augmentation surgery, and what we found when graphing the actual percentage of viable erectile function against the postoperative satisfaction with the aforestated surgery, a direct proportionality between the two, up to the point of approximately 20% satisfaction with the mammarian supplementation, followed by a significant increase in erectile function, and then shortly after, an explosive increase in erectile function at the point of only 40% satisfaction with the postoperative pectoral parameters of the recontoured rack. Now, penile injection therapy, another possibility we haven't talked about. The intracavernosal or intrauteral injection of vasoactive substances, the one caveat being the very real potential for priapism, a prolonged erection lasting more than 4 hours, which does indeed constitute a medical emergency, as penile veins tend to become distended and cyanotic with oxygen deprivation, leading to irreversible smooth muscle damage, as well as ischemic damage to the surrounding tissue.
Okay. This is very difficult for me to comprehend, and I'm sure our viewers are having a very difficult time out there. You're using words here. I mean, what did you say, ischemic?
Actually, ischemic. ISCHEMIC.
Ischemic. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have a dictionary?
Yeah, I'll go get it.
Okay, get the dictionary. I want to look this word up. It's what did you say?
Ischemic, probably be in there as ischemia, the noun.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you spell that?
ISCHEMIA.
Okay, Dr. Kaplan, can you explain to us, ischemic, what does that mean?
Of or related to ischemia, originally from the Latin ischemia and the Greek ischemos, literally a forestalling of the blood. Essentially, it's a decrease in the blood supply to a body organ or other histological infrastructure caused by a constriction or obstruction of the blood vessels.
I still can't find it.
Ischemic.
You know what? Look between ISBN, the abbreviation for International Standard Book Number, and ischia. I think it might be in that interval.
You have this thing, ischia?
I think it might be in that interval between those two words.
It's right between them. It's amazing. Ischemia.
He knows where these words are in the dictionary.
A decrease in blood supply to a body organ or other histological infraction caused by a constriction or obstruction of the blood vessels. Lat ischemia, GK ischemos.
Precisely.
Okay, Dr. Kaplan, that was word for word. Caller, I'm curious. Caller?
Yeah.
Can you look up, what was the other one, ISBN,
International Standard Book Number.
Can you look that one up for us?
Okay. Let's see, ISBN, abbreviation, International Standard Book Number.
And what was that island thing?
Ischia?
Ischia.
Ischia. Ischia, you know, the island of southern Italy in the Mediterranean Sea at the entrance of the Bay of Naples?
ISCH.
Okay, that's the one right. Okay.
CH.
Island of southern Italy in the Mediterranean Sea at the entrance of the Bay of Naples.
Exactly.
That was all word for word.
Well, caller, that is the New Standard International Heritage Dictionary you're using, is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
Third edition?
Third edition. Yeah, exactly.
That's a very fine edition. Some slight inaccuracies, which were easily corrected when we put out the fourth edition. Well, I was a primary contributor and major consultant on biomedical, biochemical, and biophysical nomenclature, as well as vernacular endemic to the hematological, epidemiological, and physiopathological environments.
Dr. Kaplan, I'd like to just say that it's really an honor to be speaking with such an educated, intelligent person.
Thank you very much.
You ever take a IQ test?
Actually, yes, I did, and regrettably, there was one mathematical question which the scoring committee improperly deemed as answerable exclusively in terms of logarithms and exponential quadratics, which I vigorously contended through extrapolation of Euclidean geometry's Pythagorean theorem in the context of Newtonian physics should also be encompassing of and inclusive of imaginary numbers. And although I was later proven correct and the test scoring amended to reflect my line of reasoning, the reversal came belatedly, and much to my chagrin, the record to date indicates I achieved less than a perfect score.
Hard to imagine. Less than a perfect score. Well, I think we're about, our time is about up, but maybe you've shared something. Maybe some people watching us have picked up on some things here tonight, and you've educated and enlightened a few people about erectile dysfunction. Is there any parting words, some insight you'd like to leave us with, Dr. Kaplan?
Not really.
There you have it. Dr. Seymour Kaplan will be right back after this.